أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا يوفي نعمه ويكافئ مزيدا والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Dear brothers and sisters, the belief that everything which happened is happening and will happen is according to the knowledge, will and command of Allah Ta'ala is called taqdeer. Belief in taqdeer is compulsory. The advantages of belief in taqdeer and the tawakkul, trust in Allah, are as follows. First, no matter what hardship or misfortune befalls one, it will be accepted without panic, and the heart will remain strong in the face of such hardships. Strong belief in taqdeer will indicate that Allah's wish is in this occurrence and it cannot be opposed. The hardship will disappear only when so desired by Allah. Thus, the man of taqdeer accepts what comes his way with contented resignation. One who has understood and accepted this conception of taqdeer will not be overcome with frustration at the delay in the passing of the hardship. He will not become despondent and lose hope when the misfortune endures for any length of time. He will banish weakness. The adherent of taqdeer will not adopt unlawful ways and means of combating the difficulty. For he knows that adversity has been brought about by Allah Ta'ala. He understands well that elimination of the hardship is not possible without the will of Allah. He therefore realizes the futility of his efforts in trying to eliminate what Allah Ta'ala has willed. He will thus not unnecessarily court the displeasure of Allah by the adoption of unlawful measures. Why court Allah's wrath when one's purpose cannot be achieved even after having displeased Him? The believer in taqdeer and tawakkul will not rely solely on material and mundane measures, but will resort to dua as well. He believes that nothing can be gained without His will. He thus derives greater hope and strength by supplicating to Allah Ta'ala. An additional benefit of engaging in dua is the strengthening of one's relationship with Allah Ta'ala. A strong bond of love with Allah Ta'ala is the basis of peace and all comfort. The believer in taqdeer will not attribute success, accomplishment and excellence to his efforts. He will attribute everything to the will and pleasure of Allah Ta'ala. He will thus be imbued with humility. Such a man will not be arrogant and haughty. The Islamic conception of taqdeer should not be misconstrued, and the essential and correct ways and means for worldly affairs should not be discarded on the pretext of resignation to taqdeer. Discarding the lawful means and agencies which Allah Ta'ala has created for worldly affairs is weakness as well as erroneous. Such error and weakness have been criticized in the hadith. Auf ibn Malik narrates that once when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam decided a dispute, the one against whom the verdict went exclaimed, Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil. Sufficient for me is Allah and He is a good protector. This exclamation was intended to convey that Allah's pleasure was the cause of the setback which he suffered. Hearing this, Rasulullah said, Allah Ta'ala does not like weakness, be alert. Here Rasulullah exhorted that one should harness the correct means for one's case and activity. However, if despite instituting the correct measures, failure results, then one will be justified in saying Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil. Jabir narrates that Rasulullah said, "You can never be a mu'min as long as you do not believe in taqdeer, in its good and its bad, to such an extent that whatever is to happen will not be warded off, and whatever is not to happen will not occur." Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrates that Rasulullah said, "Strive to acquire what is beneficial for you. Seek the aid of Allah. Do not lose courage, and if a setback overtakes you, do not say, 'If I had done this, then it would have happened like this.' Instead, say, 'Allah has ordained this. Whatever He has willed has happened.'" What greater wealth does one require than the love of Allah? Those whose trust and reliance Allah have secured His love. There is no doubt in the success of such people. Allah Ta'ala says, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَقَالَ مُوسَى يَا قَوْمِ إِن كُنْتُمْ آمَنْتُمْ بِاللَّهِ فَعَلَيْهِ تَوَكَّلُوا إِن كُنْتُمْ مُسْلِمِينَ." Sadaqallahu al-Azim. Musa, when he saw Bani Israel in fear and suffering because of the cruelty of Fir'aun, said, "O my people, if you have true iman on Allah, then have trust in Him. If indeed you have submitted to Him." أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. فقالوا على الله توكلنا ربنا لا تجعلنا فتنة للقوم الظالمين وَنَجِّنَا بِرَحْمَتِكَ مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الْكَافِرِينَ. They said, "We have reposed trust on only Allah." They then supplicated, "O our Rabb, do not make us the target of these oppressors. Save us by your mercy from these unbelievers." From this verse, it is learned that along with tawakkul, dua is very efficacious. Allah Ta'ala says, "Whoever has trust on Allah, He is sufficient for him." Allah Ta'ala dispenses all affairs of those who have trust on Him, be they affairs of a physical or spiritual nature. This is indeed a wonderful promise made to those who adopt tawakkul. Amr ibn al-As narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "The heart of man lingers after everything. Allah does not care for a man who puts his heart at the disposal of everything. He may be destroyed in any place. Whoever has trust on Allah, Allah suffices for him in all affairs." This hadith points out that such a man whose trust is reposed in Allah does not become despondent and is not smitten by worry. Anas narrates that Rasulullah said to a man, "Tie your camel and trust in Allah." Thus, tawakkul does not envisage the abandonment of the lawful means and agencies which Allah Ta'ala has created for the execution of activities. One has to trust in Allah and not repose confidence in the means and ways. The sum total of this discussion is that Muslims should never become despondent and frustrated and in difficult situations. Take lesson from what has been said in these verses and al-hadith, and do not become weak in your deen. repose all your trust on Allah Ta'ala.